Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Bunny Musings. This is Bunny, and this is episode 5. And today I kind of just wanted to talk about something that has a grip on me, and that is Culinary Class Wars or 흑백요리사 on Netflix. It is literally the most fascinating show I'm watching right now, at least. I'm sure there's a lot of things I find fascinating, but cooking is one of those things in particular where it's like there's so much to explore that it's kind of hard to, I don't know where to start sometimes when you're just learning. And I only started cooking when I was about 18. So it hasn't been that long. And yeah, I think I'm pretty decent at it. I mean, I grew up watching like the Food Network and a lot of cooking shows. And then, of course, nowadays I watch like Gordon Ramsay and those Korean um, cooking YouTubers. I was like, what am I talking about? Like Plan D and I think Honey Jubu as well are some YouTubers that I watch quite a bit. And I don't know, I've never burnt anything. I think that's the biggest success I've ever had. And I have some fun stories about cooking, mostly about oversalting things. But today I wanted to talk about this show and why it has a death grip on me and just kind of the various things that I'm excited about. So I don't, I'm just gonna say this has spoilers because, and like beware of spoilers if you haven't seen the show. I think it's been out for a few months at least, if not longer. So there has been some time to watch it, but maybe not everybody has seen it. So if you haven't seen it, please go watch it and then come back. um, but yeah, it's just been utterly fascinating to me because they have like two different calibers of chefs on the show. So there's like the white spoon chefs, which are like the chefs that have Michelin stars and they have umpteen years of experience and they are literal leaders in their craft. Like they know what they're doing, like to the extreme. And then there are the black spoon chefs, which are kind of more like up and coming chefs, like the newer generation of chefs, but definitely not necessarily less talented. Like these, I think a lot of these chefs are incredible. And honestly, there's like so many of them. I would love to try their food or try products they make and whatnot. Um, and actually, back when I was in Korea, not too long after season 1 happened, because this is season 2 that I'm watching. Um, Not too long after season 1, I tried um, like Imo Kase's. She had seaweed in the convenience stores, and I got to eat that. And it was just like perilla oil and seaweed, or and seaweed and like sesame oil as well. I think it was a mix of the two, and it was a roasted seaweed, and it was so good. It was so unbelievably good. Like that is the standard of seaweed, and I'm sure it's nothing compared to the dish she made in the first season. But yeah. Anyways, as I was saying, these black spoon chefs and these white spoon chefs compete and they go up against each other and whatnot. And let me tell you, about what is so utterly fascinating to me. So, like, these people are specialists, like, in the absolute word. They specialize in their cuisines, and some of them even specialize in certain cooking techniques or even like certain dishes. Because in Korea, there's quite a few restaurants where they literally specialize in one thing. Like, they are known for their main thing, and that's like what people go to them for. And honestly, I wish more places in the US were like that. I don't I don't know why. I don't know. The concept of things like all you can eat buffets in comparison to that, I'm just like, I don't know. Cuz yeah, I think it's just personal preference. But anyways, so these people have literally spent 47 years, 57 years, like a decent chunk of their lifespan working on these things. And I don't know, it just kind of baffles me because I'm so not like that. I am such a generalist, and honestly, I've been kind of thinking about this over the past week, but this show especially is bringing that up for me. Like, I like to rotate through my interests, and the thought of having to do the same thing day in and day out just to master it, just to have that level of expertise and that level of experience makes me want to metaphorically bash my noggin into a wall. Like, it's, I cannot do the same thing over and over and over and over again. Like, literally, the way I crafted this channel was so that I didn't have to do that. So that whatever I was talking about and whatever I was thinking about served as like a function. And so there's this X input and you get this Y outcome. But like, I am the function. I surpassed math and I became the math kind of a vibe. And I don't know, I look at these people and I can't help but be inspired because the world values specialists to such an extent. You, it's it's like you look up to them and you like no matter what you sometimes feel like you want to be like them. But like my brain literally isn't designed to do like what you have to do in order to become that person. And I like started a commonplace journal and I just like kept it with me as I was like watching the show because I don't know, I wanted to write, but I also wanted to watch. And so I did both and I would like pause the show. And I like ended up saying I want to be ridiculously good at so many things. And I think, like, it's not to say that that isn't possible. It's just my breadth is so wide sometimes that I'm like, how am I going to execute this? You know, at what point am I going to be satisfied with where I'm at or like the way I've developed my skills? I don't know. I think it's cool to be both analytical and creative, to have balance, to be able to do both, to be that girl. No, I'm just kidding. Um, but I don't know, just like the expectation to just be one thing and to put your head down and to work hard and to make money, that weighs heavily on me because that is like the main model of success that we are sold as like people on this planet. Is like most of the time people show you have to specialize, you have to find your niche and stick to it. But like, what if I don't want to do that? What if my brain would hate that? You know? And so that's kind of what I've been pondering in the back of this show is like, I almost wish that I could watch a biopic of these chefs' lives up to this point because it's like, what did you do? What did you go through in order to become this person who is an expert at braising, or this person who like has such a knowledge of traditional Korean cuisine techniques and how things were done historically. Like, how did you learn that? You know, how did you learn how to distill alcohol for yourself and like find out what flavors work well? Like, who did you learn from, and like who modeled that for you? But of course, like specialists modeling for people generally creates more specialists unless the person receiving that modeling decides something different for themselves. And I don't know, I just feel like I wish there were more successful generalists that were modeled. And it might just be me that I don't know a lot of generalists that I can look at and be like, oh, they can do everything. I think the closest example I have is K-pop, or even, I guess, cooking, but like to an extent, I don't know, because they still specialize in their careers. They're not often like a chef and a scientist and an artist and like they don't expand like that. They like pick a subject and then within that subject they might know a lot or they might specialize. And I don't know, it's utterly, I don't know, it's really sent me down a rabbit hole in my mind of like, how did you decide that you were going to do this? But also, was it a decision that was made or is it just what happened over time? Like, I don't know that anybody truly sits there and is like, I am going to specialize in French cuisine, and that's the only thing I ever want to do for the next 50 years. I don't know that people do that. I don't know if young people sit down and they're like, this is what I'm going to do, and then that's all that happens. I know that in the past that was a thing of financial security. It was promised to you, oh, if you are loyal to this company and you work for this company for however many years, then we'll give you a pension. We'll give you this retirement thing. And that was like something that was guaranteed. And it was like an incentive to stay with it. But I I think a really big pension could be offered to me, and I don't know that I would take it. Like the biggest pension ever in existence, you know, the fattest check. And I just, I don't know. I don't think the money is worth being inauthentic to myself and how I exist in this world. But I just don't know how to carve my own path either. And that is like the interesting intersection that I think a lot of people in their 20s probably struggle with, or maybe beyond, I don't know. Um, is just like, okay, if what is modeled for me doesn't work, what am I doing instead? And yeah, that's just kind of where I've been at with this show. I was supposed to talk about the show more. I really was. And it just didn't come out that way. But that's okay because I can talk about the show more. I can talk about it now. Um, yeah. So I only started cooking a little bit ago in the scale of time, at least. Um, and so I don't have a ton of practice either. Like, I would love to be able to chop vegetables correctly. You know, to like almost get to like a culinary school level of execution where it's like I know how to make those precise cubes and I know how to julienne. I would love to get to that point. But it's just like, how do you sit there and go like, I'm going to chop a carrot? The different ways you can chop a carrot for like X amount of time. It just, it doesn't compute in my brain, but the people who can do it, like the people in this show, I swear, they start moving their wrist and like the knife follows and it's just like the finest thing you've ever seen. It's like literal shavings of vegetables or of meat. And it's just, it's bizarre to think about. It's like so many hours went into honing that skill, and you just see small snippets of it on TV. And like some of them have accolades and Michelin stars to back them up, but I don't know, just like think about how many other chefs in the world like also do that same thing. And it's just like you don't see that unless you're watching it on a screen or you happen to be at a restaurant that has an open kitchen concept where they like are visible from the dining area, which isn't that often. Um, yeah, maybe in higher end cuisine, like fine dining, that might be more common, but I don't know. And yeah, and it's just like, I want to learn these cooking techniques. Like, they keep talking about braising in this show. Or maybe my brain keeps latching on to braising because a part of me is like, huh, maybe I could do that. Because, I don't know, it's more about like nailing the sauce and the flavor profile of the sauce. And I feel like I have a decent like vibe of like if things taste balanced or not. You know, I think that's the one thing that like cooking with Korean cuisine specifically has taught me is like it kind of focuses on balancing sweet, salty, spicy, and like umami and acid. Like those are the general vibes. Like, it's a blend of all of those. And once that tastes balanced, then you're good, basically, is kind of how it feels. And yeah, I feel like I could do it. But here's the thing, I feel like I could do anything. Like if I really tried. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to turn out well the first time. But maybe it might. I don't know. But I don't know. These chefs make it look so easy to do things that you're like, I want to try that too. And then I feel like I'm gonna get humbled by reality when I try to like braise something, and then it's like, oh, actually, you burnt your sauce and this is inedible now. But yeah, I think um, the show has gotten into my brain a bit though, because I kid you not, I had a dream in Korean last night. I was legit, and like, to be fair, I did take Korean in college, so to an extent, I know how to speak Korean. Not very well anymore, but like, it was there at a point. And so I dreamt in Korean, and then when I woke up, this show has such a chokehold on me that I was thinking about blending tofu into a broth to thicken it, and like a soup that I wanted to try to make in real life. But it was also like mirroring what I had seen on the show the night before. And I was like, wow, I need to take a break. You know, maybe I watched too many episodes in a row. And I'm not even done with the show. This show is so long, it feels like. I don't know. It's like hour-long episodes, and there's 13 episodes a season. I I don't want to admit that I've been watching for that long. Like, once you start putting numbers to the things you're doing, the things you're consuming, it starts to feel a little, oh, you know? But I don't know, maybe the identity crisis in the middle of it made up for some of the things. But like, my brain was utterly enamored with everything that I was seeing. And yeah, there's just, and it's so interesting too because the chefs work in different cuisines. So some of them are like Western cuisines and they do like French or Italian. And then others of them, they do Korean cuisine, Chinese cuisine, or Japanese cuisine. Those are like the main things they do. Last season, they had a bit more of a focus on like Italian cuisine, obviously, because of um, the winner of last season. But you know what's funny though? I still don't know his actual name, which is hilarious because, um, like, why, why wouldn't I? I don't know. For some reason, I like recognize the faces of these chefs and I like can talk about what they specialize in based on what the show has said. And then I like don't remember their names a lot of the time. Even though it's like constantly on the screen, those details just seem to slip me by. But I'm like so great at regurgitating details with enthusiasm, um, especially to people who aren't particularly interested in listening. which is always fun, you know. But yeah, I was just so shocked. Like one of the guys, he like literally introduced French cuisine to Korea, and he was like one of the first generations of chefs to do that. And then there was like I I don't know. There's like so many other amazing chefs on that show. And even like the younger chefs especially, like there was this um woman on the show, her name was like Agi Mengsu, and it was like little tiger, something like that. Yeah. And baby tiger, that was kind of like the vibe of her nickname. And I so badly wanted her to do well. Like, I was genuinely rooting for her because, okay, now this is officially spoiler territory. Like, we've already crossed spoiler territory. But I wanted so badly for her to do well. But she went up against her mentor, which her mentor, I don't remember her name. I'm so sorry. But she's also an incredible chef. But Agi Mingsu in particular, just like, I don't know, she was cute for one, like visually, like she like had that baby tiger kind of image to her face in a way, but she was genuinely ferocious in her cooking style. She was an absolute badass. Like, she, on like her entry into the competition, passed on seasoning vegetables alone to go with alcohol as a pairing. And it was just so fascinating to me because all of the other contestants had rice with their meals or they had meat with their meals. No, she she didn't go quite vegan, but she did vegetables with like crab meat, or she did it with tofu, or she seasoned it in some way. And it's just like, I don't even eat that many vegetables that often, but if they were her vegetables, I guarantee you I would probably clean the plate. That's like the level of trust I had in this contestant. And I was like, I don't know. I don't know how they genuinely make you feel for these chefs in like such a short amount of time. Because I'm like so compelled to believe in them and to root for them. And then they get eliminated so quickly afterwards. And I'm just like, how has this happened? But yeah, that is generally how this show has been sitting with me. I'm still not done with it. I think I have like 3 or 4 more episodes left, if I'm not mistaken. It might be more than that, actually. Um, I haven't checked, and I'm not going to check right now, but yeah, I have quite a bit left to go. I'm still trucking along, but if I end up making a dish as a result of this, I will genuinely be kind of proud of myself. Um, it definitely like invigorates me in a way of like, I want to experiment with cuisine and I want to like cook more and practice more. And then I'll probably get into cooking, and then it'll be rotated out in a few weeks because, or not even a few weeks, maybe even a few days, because my interests shift and I don't want to do it anymore. Um, which is why I'm not a specialist. This is exactly why I enjoy rotating through things and using this place as a space to talk about whatever I want to talk about. And so, yeah, that was episode 5 of Bunny Musings with Bunny. Thank you so much for listening and for hanging out. And yeah, go watch Culinary Class Wars if you haven't seen it. This is not sponsored, by the way. Um, Nobody would sponsor me. Not that I reached out. But anyways, yeah, besides the point, have a good whenever, and see you next time.